Mason, I'm going to start this off with Mason was amazing. So,
He
like,
is.
phenomenal choice as a Hiccup. And his character is so inventive, and he's creating these things and devices and stuff. And we saw that in the animated one, but here it's kind of more tangible. And like, my daughter loves to create, she loves to invent things. Why is that so important for kids to see in like live action now?
I think it's just reflective of a lot of us, especially those outsiders. You know, we tend to go kind of insular and draw and make things if we don't quite feel like we can meld with the others. And so it's something. I was a kid who drew a lot in my bedroom. I wasn't very sporty, and I think Hiccup is reflective of that. You know, if he can't belong, then he will find ways to sort of channel his creativity and find happiness in the things that he makes. I think a lot of kids connect, and adults connect with that idea as well.
Yeah, and ultimately that helps his relationship with Toothless, being able to build
Yeah,
the device and everything for him. And also
exactly.
there's that great theme of reconciliation between him and his father. Can you talk about that theme throughout the film?
Sure, that's another thing that's close to my heart. I think, you know, Hiccup is a character who isn't cut of the same cloth, and so he has a father who's very traditional and has always sort of followed the Viking way. The fact that Hiccup he can't quite seem to fall into step and is quirky and has his own tenacity just means that they can't quite see one another until finally, you know, Hiccup, by leading with his compassion and his heart, by defying Viking tradition and actually helping a dragon, nursing him back to life and bonding with him. At first, that's seen as such a, you know, as such a defiance and such a betrayal of the Viking way, but you know, he actually ushers in an era of peace in so doing, and there's something that's quite wonderful about the parent, you know, having the humility to see that this kid who he had seen as kind of a disappointment, who was acting on weakness, is actually acting on a strength in disguise. And he comes to see him in this enlightened way as a leader for a new generation. And so I love that arc and that dynamic because, you know, both characters are always acting out of love, but it's this push and pull of love and expectation that gives way to a new definition of their relationship.
Yeah, and in this version in particular, it felt like, I don't want to give too much away, but going deeper on that they were both dealing with grief in their own way, and they're kind of passing each other in the mist. Like, what are some ways that they kind of help each other to help communicate on that level again?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. They've kind of reached an impasse because they actually don't see one another, and it is the absence of the mother in the mix that kind of makes it feel as though there's just a lot of male energy in that household. And even Gobber, who acts as kind of a surrogate parent to Hiccup, he helps Stoic to understand his son. He helps Hiccup to understand his father. There is just a journey to go on where they inevitably they butt heads, but they finally have to come to a point where they really acknowledge what's wonderful about one another. And there is great strength and leadership that Hiccup learns from his father, but there's also free thinking and compassion that Stoic learns from his son.
Yeah, absolutely. And going to live action from animation, what are some of the challenges you came across trying to translate this film into, you know, real life?
Well, I think the biggest lesson for me was that in live action, you go through all of this preparation, you build these sets and costumes, you rehearse the scene, but then you give it over to the actors. And if you've cast it well, that the job of the director then becomes to sit back and not try to control anything anymore. Just let the scene develop its own cadence and rhythm, and truth comes out of that performance that can't be manufactured. So that's how it differs from animation, where we control everything. In this case, it's about the spontaneity. It's about those little surprises and magical moments that happen on set. If you're prepared and nimble enough, then you can, you know, move the cameras and move the lights and make sure you get it. But there is something so nuanced and truthful that just emerges by having human actors fully embodying the scene.
Awesome. Yeah. And what do you hope audiences will get maybe something different out of this one as opposed to the animated one? What do you hope audiences will walk away with this one?
I hope that audiences feel that much more grounded. Like Berk is a place you could visit. It's a world you want to spend time in. So it's transporting the audience into a world that feels fun and escapist and filled with these creatures that we wish were still walking around in this world, but they're presented in a way that really makes you believe they could possibly be part of our animal kingdom. So I hope that they feel that they're taken on a roller coaster of emotion, that it's a truly crowd-pleasing movie that leaves you thinking about, the idea of compassion and leading with your heart and just getting to know, like breaking down barriers and getting to know enemies and finding peaceful solutions to things.
Well, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below. And if you want more content like this, head over to movieguide.org. Movieguide is a nonprofit organization, and we are supported every day by viewers like you.